college, pro. It's Gridiron Wrap on 760 WJR. Sponsored by Skinny Butcher Premium Proteins. Now here are Pro Football's 2025 Hall of Fame Award of Excellence honoree Bill Keenist and football analyst Alex Silkowski.
Welcome, everybody, into Gridiron Wrap on this football Sunday, football weekend. And Alex, a ton to talk about going back to Thursday night, obviously, with a significant, I think, a regular season win by the Lions that I can recall in recent years. And then, of course, college games, the playoffs, NFL games today. Let's we should update our listeners on the current NFL games before we get into it. We've got 3 late window games. Quarterback we're all familiar with, Matthew Stafford, just threw another touchdown pass as the Rams have increased their lead in Arizona, bouncing back from that loss last week to Carolina in fine form. Rams are now up 30-10. Extra point may be pending. The Broncos, I think they were trailing early, but they've bounced back in a big division game at the Raiders. Although the Raiders have a 3rd and goal at this point in the game, beginning of the 4th quarter. As I said, the Broncos are leading 21-7. And then in a game where, Alex, we were trying to figure out before the show what would better serve Lions' needs for a playoff berth. But I think it's probably going to be take care of business on your own. Don't worry about, obviously, you're not playing the Packers anymore. Don't worry about the Bears until you play them. But the Packers are leading 14-3 at Lambeau. Second half just started, so a lot of football left to be played. Earlier today, let's go through those games. The Dolphins continue their torrid pace, 34-10 over the Jets in New York. In one of the most compelling games today, and the build-up all week was fascinating, including the reports today about Mike Tomlin. I'm from Pittsburgh, so I occasionally listen to talk radio in Pittsburgh. And I mean, it was like, check plays, Mills over, let's go. And I don't think anyone expected the Steelers to do what they did today, and that's beat the Ravens.
Yeah, exactly. This is a super important game for them. Obviously, it gave them the lead in the division. And I really felt like, both online and from some of my friends from Pittsburgh who I've talked to as well, it really felt like coming into this game this week that the sentiment had really finally flipped on Tomlin, where the Steelers fan base, which is so used to winning and excellence and Super Bowls, had kind of gotten tired of this kind of stretch of, about 500 seasons or so. But man, they came out, they looked really good today. They finally got the deep ball going. It was their first time since the start of November that they had completed a pass that was over 20 yards downfield, and they were able to do that just a ton throughout the game today. And the Rodgers and Metcalf connection looked great, and then the defense really grit their teeth at the end of the game as well. They did a pretty good job containing the Ravens rushing attack and Lamar. So talk about a game that was just super important, not just for the Steelers as a team this season, but for Mike Tomlin's career, like you said.
Right. It's just a fascinating, reality in Pittsburgh at this time of the year. In recent years, so much talk about Mike Tomlin and his 18. Every year he's coached, he hasn't had a losing record, and he'd be the first to admit it's not about that. It's about winning divisions and advancing in the playoffs and getting to the Super Bowl. I'm sure he would concur with that. But Steeler fans, and I can attest to it. I mean, when you win 4 Super Bowls in 6 years, like they did in the 80s or the 70s. Into 1980, you get spoiled, and then you come back again with Bill Cowher win a Super Bowl in Detroit. That was played here at Ford Field, and then with Mike Tomlin, you win another Super Bowl in Tampa. How can you not have high expectations? But that game today was an ultimate gut check. I think it's just the beauty of football. I mean, no one really gave the Steelers a chance, and they won. And I know there's a play in that game. We were talking about it before we got on the air that took me right back to the opening game in 2010 in Chicago, the Calvin Johnson play, where the Ravens appeared to score a touchdown. The tight end who was it? Likely?
Isaiah Likely, yeah.
Yeah.
It was Isaiah.
It had the ball in his hands, but the DB, somehow dislodged it, and it looks like it's a catch. The difference between running the ball where you just have to break the plane. Well, he was in the end zone. He had control, but, the infamous phrase, complete the catch, survive the ground, didn't occur. So that, just by math alone was a turning point in the game. And I'm sure it's one that Raven fans will be upset about. However, that's not what, caused the loss. I mean, the Steelers deserved that win. Speaking of deserving a win and one that wasn't expected, Kellen Moore's got those Saints coming up the mountain, I think, to go into Tampa, game the Buccaneers had to win and needed to win. The Saints win 24-20. So hats off to Kellen Moore and the Saints, who, appear to be doing it the right way. They're building a foundation, tough early part of the season, but heading in the right direction. Now, speaking of the right direction, the Jaguars are rolling, and the Colts are I think they lost their quarterback today. He had been hurt recently.
Towards Achilles, looked like. His Achilles injury. So
nothing worse than that in many respects. Jaguars win big, 36-19. And the Titans, a battle of rookie quarterbacks there, beat the Browns in Cleveland 31-29. And two things let me back up as I look at this next game. The one thing about the Steelers-Ravens game that hit me, we're in Detroit. We're speaking to Lion fans. Okay, wonder does this game affect the Lions fans? Yeah, I think it does. It does because, if you're a Lions fan in a couple of weeks when you play Steelers, you don't want them playing for anything, right? But with that win today, they're going to be playing for something. So that'll just make the road for the Lions a little more difficult. And then I had the same reaction when I see the Vikings and JJ having arguably his best day. I'm sure you would have a strong opinion on that. The Vikings shut out. When do you hear of a shutout in the NFL or anywhere these days? Yeah, Vikings win 31-0, and the Seahawks keep rolling. Sam Darnold had another very efficient, very good game, 37-9 over the seemingly hapless Falcons. And then in a classic AFC battle, and it's just a game that says, what if the Bengals had Joe Burrow all season? They didn't, but the Bengals took the Bills to the brink before Buffalo came out with a 39-34 win to keep pace in the AFC playoff race. We're going to take a break now, and we'll talk a lot more football, including college football. Big announcement today on the playoffs. You are listening to Gridiron Wrap on WJR 760, the great voice of the Great Lakes.
Your family would like to wish you and your family a very happy holiday. And guess what? This December, you could save even more on stylish furniture when you buy more at Amish Direct Furniture here in Sterling Heights. So come on over and let's make this holiday one for the books. Happy holidays from Amish Direct.
Straight from Chihuahua, just the way you want it. Amish Direct.
Visit us at AmishDirect.com.
Hi, it's Paul W. While we're shopping for those perfect holiday presents, the best gift of all, the one we all truly want, is our health. When we need drugs or shots for pain to get by every day, it's hard to be in the holiday spirit. So give yourself or someone you love the gift of health from Dr. Sal Kogan at the Nerve and Disc Institute. People with neuropathy, sciatica, spinal stenosis, or bulging, herniated, and degenerative discs can celebrate avoiding spine surgery with his intradisc neutrosis treatment. And his Knee Restore RX treatment is a gift to patients facing knee surgery. They're all natural, non-invasive, and non-surgical solutions with no shots, pills, or downtime. Plus, Dr. Kogan is really in the holiday spirit because the first 10 new patients who call and start treatment in December in Farmington, Clinton Township, and Grand Blanc will get 60% off their treatment plan. The Nerve and Disc Institute. Call now, 586-416-DISC, 586-416-3472.
Hi, I'm Pastor Darren White, CEO of Grace Centers of Hope. Right now, there are too many people suffering on the streets of Metro Detroit with homelessness and addiction. At Grace Centers of Hope, there is a way out. Our long-term residential programs provide everything a person needs to live a life of independence and sustainability. And we do it all without a dime from the government, but rely on God, community, and the generosity of people like you. To learn how you can help someone suffering with homelessness and addiction this Christmas, please go to gracecentersofhope.org.
Jones, it's the holidays.
The cheeriest time of the year.
I'm so depressed.
Don't worry, boss. We joined Trade First.
Trade First?
TradeFirst.com, boss. We're part of a network of
over 5,000 member businesses who use trade to perk their people and buy gifts for their clients.
Smart businesses.
And they're keeping their businesses healthy by planning next year's advertising on trade, buying goods and services on trade, conserving cash flow with trade. We joined TradeFirst.com.
Join Trade First and grow your company. Reward employees and beat the internet. Find out more at TradeFirst.com.
Start your day by hitting play on
5 Things First Thing with JR Morning's Chris Renwick, Lloyd Jackson, and Jamie Edmonds.
Get the day's top 5 stories in just 5 minutes, delivered right to your device. Subscribe to JR Morning's 5 Things First Thing wherever you get your podcasts.
NFL football, sponsored by RelyOnTryon.com. Also sponsored by Feminitio Law.
Sunday night, the Texans take on the Chiefs at 7:30 p.m.
NFL football, 760 WJR. You're listening to Gridiron Wrap on WJR, sponsored by Skinny Butcher Premium Proteins. Once again, with every football update you need, here are Bill Keenest and Alex Zilkowski.
Welcome back, everyone, into Gridiron Wrap on this fine football Sunday. Just one update on the current window of games. The Bears have cut the Packers lead to a field goal. 14-11, Green Bay leads midway through the third quarter. Touchdown pass and a 2-point conversion, resulting again in a 3-point deficit by the Bears. So they're hanging in there with the Packers in Lambeau nonetheless. So give them credit. Go back to the Thursday night game, Alex. One of the most important, significant Lions regular season games in recent memory. In a game that at least locally and certainly on talk radio and probably, in the sports bars and water coolers, I think there was a lot of fear about that game and trepidation. And because of the way the Cowboys were playing and the fact that the Lions had lost 2 out of 3 and, Dallas had the 2 great receivers, the Lions secondary is getting banked up. I mean, there were, a half dozen storylines that did not favor the Lions. And then the fear about St. Brown not being able to play after that injury on Thanksgiving. But, I was working the game for the NFL, and we have a pregame security meeting, a network meeting. And I was heading up the tunnel after the meeting to go to another pregame meeting. And I see St. Brown walking down, dressed for the game. And he had a look on his face that was sheer determination and let's kick this ball off. And I thought, wow, that's going to be something that the entire team feeds off of. And, they went to him early. He made some big catches, but I think him being out there and the example he showed all week of working undoubtedly very hard, getting all the treatment, not practicing. I don't recall hearing, I think he didn't practice all week.
I don't think he did either. No.
Yeah, so that has to have an impact on the entire team.
Yeah, completely. And I mean, when's the last time the Lions have gotten some good surprise injury news, right?
Yeah.
Any team in the NFL, that just doesn't exist for the most part. I really think that just set the tone for the game for the Lions right off the bat was Amon-Ra playing. I think he really is one of the like spiritual heartbeats of this team, and especially the offense. Now that we no longer have Frank Ragnow or something on the offense, who I think was we were talking before the show, he kind of was the de facto heartbeat and leadership of that offense before that he retired. And yeah, this is just a game that with how good the NFC North happens to be this year, the Lions just had to pick this up. Simple as that, right? Yeah. If they didn't win this game, they weren't going to make the playoffs. But this finally started to look like the Lions we've kind of grown accustomed to the past few years. Outside of a few plays here and there, the Lions really just seemed to be able to sustain drives, got some explosiveness back. And it wasn't even just like we've seen in some of the earlier games and successes this season where, it was simply just give the ball to Gibbs and hope it happens, like their win a few weeks ago. Right. They were spreading the ball out, which I feel like has been one of the causes for the Lions struggle on offense this year, where there are certain games where it just feels like the play calls either curl St. Brown or again hand it off to Gibbs on either outside zone or duo and hope something good happens. And then the defense, I mean, sure, they may have given up 30 points, but if you watch Dallas this year, 30 points against them is not a bad number to give up at all, right?
No.
They're one of the best offense in the NFL and get it done. So yeah, I mean, if you're a Lions fan, I don't know how you can't leave this game feeling very satisfied. I think Dallas was honestly a pretty bad matchup with the Lions, especially if, we didn't know. And when you see Amon-Ra isn't practicing all week, you're not expecting him in the game. No. So I don't know if this is much better of an outcome as it could be for the Lions. Now, there's the downside of Brian Branch getting injured. That was another thing we were talking about. He's kind of one of the defensive heartbeats of the team and, all pro level player in the nickel. Yeah. So the Lions are going to feel that all year long and are going to have to score more points. But yeah, I was really happy about the game. But I don't know, what were your thoughts?
Well, I agree with everything you said there. The Lions, I thought Dan Campbell called a great game. I thought he called an intelligent game. And I also thought that the Cowboys offense changed. And in particular, George Pickens changed after CeeDee Lamb went out, because obviously that pair of receivers is as good as there is in the league, comparable to what the Lions have in many respects. And they had played very well recently. And when Lamb goes out, making a heroic effort for what would have been a touchdown, I think that was in the end zone where he got the concussion. And then now Lions are going to roll most of the coverage to Pickens, and just from some of the reaction to how he played the rest of the game, he didn't seem to handle that all that well. But you know what, Dak Prescott is still a top quarterback, I believe, and it was still a one possession game midway through the fourth quarter, so it wasn't an easy game. The score may be not as indicative of how close that game was. And Dallas had been coming back in a number of its games, so they probably had, the confidence and belief that they could come back, which they should have, because they have. So huge win by the Lions. You did mention Brian Branch's injury. What a downer! And as you referred to him as a heartbeat of the defense, I think in a way, what he was for the defense, Frank Ragnow was for the offense, because Branch plays 3 or 4 different positions depending on the defensive call and the alignment. You see him, up on the line of scrimmage. You see him in almost like a middle linebacker, up on a receiver playing safety. He is very valuable. However, the reality is, and we all react to injuries like that, but for as long as I can remember, when it comes to the injuries in the NFL, it's not a matter of if, it's a reality of when. And every team has injuries, significant ones like this. And every coach knows that. Every player knows that. Every personnel department knows that. That's why they have a ready list in the personnel department of players at every position, have them graded. So every safety that's out there, every safety that's on a practice squad for other teams that the Lions could potentially claim, you have to be ready for it. And the teams that adjust to that are going to be more successful dealing with injuries. And I don't think there's anyone in the league when it comes to head coaches that do a better job of not belaboring that. Yeah, next man up. Well, with Dan Campbell and the Lions and Brad Holmes,
They've had to the past few years
Absolutely.
with how injured they've been. They've absolutely had to. It's been a necessity, and they went 15-2 doing that.
No question, and that has got to help the team as it goes into this last section of the season, because they know they can do it because they have done it, and that's going to be critical. Especially the secondary as banged up as it already is, facing quarterbacks like Matthew Stafford, next week. But one good thing about that game against the Rams next week, Lions get a longer break. So, they're going to be healthier because they're not playing on today. They had the game on Thursday. So when we talk about the schedule, it's not who you play, it's when you play them and if you're coming off a bye or whatever. So a lot more football to talk about when we come back. This is Gridiron Wrap on WJR 760, the great voice of the Great Lakes.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Susan, I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic is terrible.
It sure is. But on top of that, gas prices have been skyrocketing. I can't believe how expensive gas has gotten recently.
Prices at the pump are up, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
And does that actually add up to anything?
I've made around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code AUTO for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill-up. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code AUTO for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code AUTO for 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill-up.
Your child's education is the foundation for tomorrow's leaders. Listen every Sunday at 3 p.m. for School Talks, hosted by Dr. Robert Livernoy. A conversation on all things education, from parents and students to educators and policymakers. School Talks is dedicated to in-depth discussions and analysis with experts on a wide range of topics in education. Sponsored by Clark Construction Company, thoughtfully planning and building educational facilities to foster innovation where students and faculty thrive. Visit clarkcc.com.
The following is presented by Long-Term Care Family.
Listen up, Michigan. Here they are, the top 3 reasons no one is planning for long-term care. Number 3, I'm healthy. I'm not going to need it. Folks, I hate to burst your bubble, but longtermcare.gov says that an astounding 70% of us age 65 and over will need care. Number 2, Medicare pays for that, right? Wrong. Medicare is health insurance and does not cover custodial care, which is long-term care. So unless you want to spend down your personal savings, you need a plan. And the number 1 reason people don't plan for long-term care, my spouse or my kids are going to take care of me. Folks, I urge you to reconsider if that's what you're thinking. Don't do that to your kids. Wouldn't you rather leave a legacy for your family and not a burden? Call today and get your free long-term care survival kit. Wait till you see all the options you have. Johnny, tell them how to get their kit.
Just call certified long-term care advisor Alex Lydell, 248-469-4669. That's 248-469-4669.
The Amish Direct Furniture family would like to wish you and your family a very happy holiday. And guess what? This December, you could save even more on stylish furniture when you buy more at Amish Direct Furniture here in Sterling Heights. So come on over and let's make this holiday one for the books. Happy holidays from Amish Direct.
Straight from Tijuana, just the way you want it. Amish Direct.
Visit us at AmishDirect.com.
Kick off the holiday season with the perfect gift for the soccer fan in your life. Head over to store.ussoccer.com and explore a wide range of official U.S. soccer gear and merch. Whether you're decking the halls or hitting the field, we've got you covered. Show your true colors and share the excitement of U.S. soccer this season. Visit store.ussoccer.com today and score big with your holiday shopping.
WJR's Michigan Voices with Marie Osborne is your platform for positive change. We're shining a spotlight on the incredible work of local nonprofits that are making a difference in our communities. Do you know a nonprofit that's going above and beyond? Let Marie know about them. Email their name and a brief description to the email address michiganvoices@wjr.com. Together we can amplify the voices of those who are building a better Michigan.
You're listening to Gridiron Wrap on WJR, sponsored by Skinny Butcher Premium Proteins. Once again, with every football update you need, here are Bill Keenest and Alex Zilkowski.
Welcome back, everyone, to Gridiron Wrap. And since our last update, Alex, both the Packers and the Bears have scored. The Packers answered that touchdown and 2-point conversion by the Bears with a touchdown. Christian Watson, the wide receiver's second touchdown catch of the day, and Green Bay went up 21-11. But the Bears came right down the field. The drive stalled, and Santos kicked a 41-yard field goal. So it's now 21-14 Green Bay, still in the third quarter. So a lot of football left to go. Speaking of football, quite a day yesterday, NCAA, and I don't know, what you thought of yesterday and today, but certainly that Ohio State-Indiana game was a classic in many ways.
Yeah, it was one of the game of the years. And I mean, I'm not a fan of the expanded Big Ten, but at least the last two Big Ten championship games have been amazing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the silver lining out of it. But yeah, talk about a game that I honestly did not expect Indiana to show up and play that well. No. I mean, they're obviously a good team. I don't think they're frauds. They beat Oregon and Eugene. That's not an easy thing at all. But Fernando Mendoza looked like he was the number one pick in the draft this upcoming March. Regardless who gets, I feel like teams are going to trade up for him. He was calm, composed. He took a big shot in the first play of the game for them and then came back and played through all game long. And then also that defense of Indiana's, I mean, they put a lot of people on notice as well, holding Ohio State to 10 points with 0 in the second half. There's some questionable playing, and Ryan Day could have been more aggressive, but that was one of the games of the years. And I mean, Kurt Cignetti, this is the main talking point I was talking about, but talk about one of the best 2-year runs in just the history of the sport, right? Indiana was just a perennial basement dweller, had the most losses of all time up until earlier this year. And now they're undefeated in the 1 seed. And every year at the beginning of the season, 24/7 Sports puts out an article talking about how you need a 50% blue chip ratio or better to win the national championship, because that's been true for the last 20 teams or so. And that means over 50% of your players have to be, 4 or 5 stars in their recruiting rankings, right? I don't know if you know this, but Indiana's blue chip ratio is 8%. So 42% short of that arbitrary threshold of theirs. And it just shows how much better Kurt Cignetti is at identifying and developing talent than so much of this country. So, it's really just an impeccable showing. And then the game itself was just great entertainment overall. Indiana controlled the game. They had the second half, just some great play calling, some great defensive stands, some long drives to really take them out of it. And then that missed field goal for Ohio State, which is devastating. Chip shot, 27-yard, but that's why you watch the game. So yeah, I loved it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on the game as well.
Well, I am partial to Matt Patricia and what he's done at Ohio State, and 13 points, that was the fewest points Indiana has scored in the last 2 years. So the defense played relatively well, certainly for Ohio State. But how can you not love the story of Indiana football? I mean, if you're a sports fan, if you've got a heartbeat, it's just one of the you talk about truth being stranger than fiction. I don't recall anything comparable almost at any level. I'm sure on a high school level with different sports, there's been something as remarkable. But at major college sports, and certainly in pro sports, I can't even begin to think. And it shows why we love sports. It shows why, sports is truly the only reality show, the only true reality show, because no one could have written this script and it would have been accepted. And it's hilarious when you think back to Coach Cignetti's first press conference
Yeah.
when he was confident in every, and somebody says, why do you think, what makes you confident you can create your culture and turn it around here? And he goes, Google me, I win. And it came off as somewhat arrogant, but he has proven to be who he is, and that's who he was, is, and will be. And Google me. Yeah, we win. And it's just remarkable. And the tight end Becker, holy mackerel, the catches he made against Penn State in that game, that was an improbable win. And the play of the year on that third down, or was that third down? When Indiana threw the ball instead of running it, but consequently threw the ball and won the game, was just classic. And you're right about Mendoza. What a lovable, likable young man, and his attitude is infectious. And football is different, as we've talked about so many times. It's the sum of the whole, not the sum of the parts. And it's belief. And when you have that many young men believing in their coach, in their program, in their goal, it's true. The impossible is possible. And we've seen it.
Yeah, and just to go along with your point about it being the whole in the team effort, Indiana held Ohio State to 58 rushing yards yesterday, and that's the least amount of rushing yards Ohio State's gotten in the last 15 seasons. So just an incredible job by them, and they were able to move the ball on the ground well. And I really think they're going to do great in this playoffs upcoming, because they can get it done through the air and on the ground. And then they just, there's such good team culture, such good team buy-in. And it just seems like the stars are aligning for them a little bit here. So they're going to be obviously the team to watch in the playoffs going forward now.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think you talk about America's team, as Matthew Stafford just threw another touchdown pass to Nakua, I think that's who caught it. Let's watch the replay again. Yeah, to Nakua, a stop and go and a phenomenal catch and throw. And they're the loss last week, Carolina, doesn't seem to have any impact on that football team. But I think the Hoosiers are going to be America's team, and they're no Insignetti and that family is a gold standard when it comes to football where I grew up in Western PA. They're known for football. His dad was he's in the College Hall of Fame. He was an exceptional Division II coach at Indiana, University of Pennsylvania, coached at WVU, actually replaced Bobby Bowden at WVU. So, when you grow up with football around you, when you know nothing but football, that has a huge impact on what you learn and how you deal with young people and how you coach. And I agree with you. I think that the only thing that will stop Indiana right now is themselves, and that's what I think Signetti was alluding to. I've got 3 weeks to come down and get ready. But one thing that will be talked about in addition to Indiana is the decision today by the committee and who's in and who's out. And I'm sure I know you have some strong thoughts about that.
Oh yeah, I do completely. So first off, Miami deserves to be in over Notre Dame in the vacuum of those two teams, right? Because you play the games for a reason, and Miami won, and the game looked way further apart than that. However, one of the big issues I have with Alabama getting in is, there is some sentiment about teams shouldn't be punished because of losing their conference championship games. I saw that over the past, I believe it was 7 years or so. There have been 16 teams who have lost conference championship games while being ranked inside of the CFP top 25. Of those 16 teams, only one team did not move down because of the game they lost in the conference championship game, and that was ultimately Alabama. I mean, Alabama, they did have a great win against Georgia. However, I think the fact that they lost the game, it wasn't a particularly close game yesterday at all for anyone who watched.
No.
Alabama couldn't do anything on the ground. And Notre Dame, they lost both their hard games, and the easy answer isn't join a conference. It's simply win your games to make the playoffs. But I feel like they're in better form and more deserving to make the playoffs right now, instead of them getting swapped and moving down on a bye week when neither them nor Miami played.
Right. Yeah, and we'll talk more about the implications of the decision today for the college football playoffs when we get back from a break. You are listening to Gridiron Wrap on 760 AM WJR, the great voice of the Great Lakes.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? You want to think of this as being your money. But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And these taxes, well, they could be a lot higher than you know. Learn how you could reduce or potentially eliminate these taxes with a free retirement tax savings analysis. It's from the Brzezinski Group, a second-generation financial advisory firm right here in Metro Detroit. If you saved at least $250,000, schedule your free analysis now by calling 800-641-3361. This free analysis could save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes in retirement. Call 800-641-3361. That's 800-641-3361. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. Firm does not provide legal or tax advice.
Whether you're starting an office, industrial, public sector, or healthcare real estate project, you're going to have questions.
How should we approach construction?
Are we getting the best real estate advice?
Lots of questions. At Plant Moran Real Point, our multidisciplinary team of real estate experts have decades of experience successfully guiding Michigan's largest real estate projects from concept to completion. Here's our point. To find the commercial real estate answers and guidance you need to succeed, let Plant Moran Real Point point the way. Learn more at pmrealpoint.com.
U.S. soccer. Reality says the odds are stacked against us. To think our U.S. men's national team can ever raise the world's biggest trophy. Be the first soccer team to beat them at football. Never. But here's the thing about us. Refusing to accept reality is kind of our thing. Being unrealistic, that's not a flaw. It's a force. It's fuel. Because if you want to be great and make history, never chase reality. Join U.S. Soccer Insiders today. Be part of the journey.
Hey gang, Jim Harper here, and if you're like me, you've heard many different commercials promising to fix your back pain without surgery. Well, I'm here with my brother Mike, who's been going to see Dr. Kogan at the Nerve and Disc Institute. Mike, your back pain was a real problem for years, right?
Yeah, it sure was, Jim. Back in 2008, I had a motorcycle accident that put me in pretty bad shape. I've tried everything. I've tried therapy. I've tried injections. I've had 4 surgeries on my back. I couldn't get any results. I couldn't get rid of the pain until I saw Dr. Kogan. First 2 visits, I was able to get rid of my walker. I was able to get rid of my cane, able to get back to enjoy the things I like to do in life.
And they also treat sciatica, spinal stenosis, and herniated and bulging discs. And the first 50 callers that mention WJR will get 50% off their treatment plan. So if you're ready to be pain-free, call 586-416-DISC. That's 586-416-3472. The great Dr. Saul Kogan at the Nerve and Disc Institute.
At Average Al's Furniture Warehouse, our sofas have cushions, our tables have 4 legs, our recliners recline. So come on by for a perfectly average experience.
Cumulus Digital doesn't stop at average. We work with more than 4,000 local businesses every month, delivering campaigns that beat industry averages by over 25%, driving real, measurable growth. You're not average. Your results shouldn't be either. Visit cumulusdigital.com to start outperforming today.
Ryan Radke here from Sunday Night Football on Westwood One. Mike Golick and I will be in Kansas City this week when the Chiefs host the Texans. Kansas City sits outside the playoff picture at 6-6, knowing they need wins down the stretch. Now they get a league-leading defense in Houston, who is feeling confident after 4 straight wins. Join us for all the action on Sunday Night Football.
Sunday Night Football on WJR is sponsored by RelyOnTryon.com and by Feminine Law.
You're listening to Gridiron Wrap on WJR, sponsored by Skinny Butcher Premium Proteins. Once again, with every football update you need, here are Bill Keenest and Alex Zilkowski.
Welcome back to Gridiron Wrap and a quick update of the late window games. Rams scored again, 38-10 over the Cardinals. Fourth quarter is just beginning, so the Rams, LA has that game well in hand. The Bears and Packers remain a one possession game. Chicago has the ball at midfield. 14 minutes to go in that game. Again, the Packers lead 21-14, and the Broncos have a 10-point lead in Las Vegas with just under 2 minutes to go in the game. 24-14. The Broncos have the ball as well. And Blake Corum just scored for the Rams. So both running backs have played really well today for the Rams. Corum now has over 100 yards. I think that was a run. And it could have been a pass because I just saw him going in the end zone. And their offense has probably got close to 500 yards today. So they're rolling. Alex, I wanted to get your opinion on what happened today and what happened this year with the college football playoff, the committee, and the decisions today, because it's going to be interesting to see if teams change their approach. Meaning this, are teams going to schedule more winnable games out of conference? Simple as that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think there's an argument for that.
I think it's going to happen. I mean, you're seeing the SEC is going to be going to 9 conference games going forward, so they're actually having one less. However, they're trying to make up for it with the strength of schedule. But I mean, I think the kind of bigger overlying problem here is that for what everyone likes to hate on with the BCS, at least with the computer, it's consistent, right? It is a simple algorithm that you just play your games and it spits out. The problem with this, in this CFP committee in particular, is they never really seem to make up their mind and have some precedent. I mean, just alone with like the Miami Notre Dame thing is if they really believe Miami was better than Notre Dame, I don't know why they had to wait until this ranking show to ranking them above them, right?
Very good point.
So I ultimately think that teams aren't going to schedule these tough out of conference games because it just doesn't seem to be rewarded as much. Where these you have to win more games, which obviously you need to do. But if you're a big power program, why should you? I mean, why should Notre Dame join a conference when ultimately 4 points kept them out of this playoff between their loss to A&M and their loss to Miami? Simple as that. So I definitely think teams are going to try to take the easy way out in the future. And the solutions, it's complicated because every time the playoffs expand, there just becomes more and more controversy, right? So I don't think going to 16 or 24 is even better, because if you think in college football, it's, hard to distinguish between the 11th and 12th best team at that cut line, trying to figure out, who's, at 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, all the way to like 35 or so. That's going to be a disaster. So I don't think expansion's the answer, but to answer your question, I think teams are going to try to take the easy route. And I mean, will we see in the future maybe this leads to the conferences shrinking again? Probably not due to the money, but it was a lot easier for everyone to be good and look like a national title contender when you had these smaller conferences and you had a lot more juggernauts.
Yeah, no question. I look at it and you want to look for something comparable that would make sense for what happened today or what has happened with the playoffs. And I have a couple thoughts. One is, in the NFL over the years, there have been teams that at that point in the season, when the regular season's over, when the playoffs are being determined, they may be playing the best ball in the NFL. They may be a team that nobody wants to face, but they had a rough beginning of the season, middle of the season. They lost a number of games they didn't expect to, and they missed the playoffs by one game. But that is the deal. That's understood. So, and I remember in particular, and this goes way back, but I remember back in 91 when the Lions, when we had a great year, it was a Mike Utley year, and got to the championship game. And we won in Buffalo, final weekend of the regular season. And we were tied with the Bears. And Chicago ended the season at San Francisco against the 49er team that had no chance of making the playoffs. None. They were playing as well as anybody in the league for the last month of the season. And that was when when Coach Fonts and his cigar and a bunch of fans and players and organizational, people, we all gathered at the old Main Event restaurant in the Silverdome to watch that game. In fact, I actually convinced ABC or ESPN, whoever was doing the Monday Night Football game that year, you got to send a camera here because you're going to get some great video, especially if what we expect to happen happens, and that's San Francisco beats the Bears. And San Francisco rolled them, beat them by 30 points or something. I mean, it wasn't even close. And then, of course, they got the shot. Wayne, lighten up the cigar, baby. And but the point is, San Francisco couldn't cry they should be in the playoffs. They knew the drill. They knew at the beginning of the season, this is the rule. This is the reality. We have to win the division or be a wild card, blah, blah, blah. So I think in college football, now the variables are the strength of schedules are so objective. You really don't, or subjective even. They're not as objective as you'd like them to be. So I think if there's a way of creating an understanding, and I'm not sure there is, at the beginning of the season, where here's the deal, could it be something where, no three loss team gets in? Now you're going to say, well, wait a minute. Well, yeah, but it's like I used that San Francisco example. They lost more games than allowed them to get in. That's reality. That's what it is. But I do think there will be some reaction to this. And would I be surprised if they expanded again? No. Would I be surprised if they changed the rules? No. It's fascinating. But yeah, I mean, is Notre Dame one of the top 10 teams right now? Probably.
Yeah, they're playing great.
I would vote for him in a heartbeat. However, that's life. Sometimes you get less than you deserve. Sometimes you get more than you deserve. And in this case, for Notre Dame, they probably got less than they deserve.
Yeah, and I mean, really, the real problem with all this is, again, that this is decided just by humans and vibes, really, right? In the NFL, we never had this problem because there's just hard set rules of how to make the playoffs. And college football, I know it's extremely tough with the scale of college football, right? There's 136 teams in the FBS right now. Someone isn't whatever system it is isn't going to work out for someone, right? But there needs to be some sort of streamlined, whether you just go by S&P Plus, Bill Connolly's metric, which is I think the best there is right now, or you figure some just hard and fast, no analytic, but just point-based system where maybe a power 4 win is worth 2 or 3 points or something, and being a group of 5 team, or being a team within your own conference is worth more points, like 2 or 3, and then there are other rankings metrics there, but it just can't be. It can't just be decided by a committee and totally subjective opinions and back and forth, because, I mean, like your point about this, sometimes you get better, sometimes you get worse. As I brought up, Alabama, not many other teams really have that name brand recognition of not getting dropped for losing a game, but they're Alabama, right? They're the final boss of college football, so they get that benefit of the doubt. And Notre Dame, another massive brand, it doesn't happen to them sometimes. So it's really interesting, and it's the national champion's always going to be settled fairly. Like, we still have the games to play, luckily. And realistically, Notre Dame is playing really well, but last year, none of these lower ranked teams really showed a pulse against any of the really good teams at the top. Notre Dame probably would have been an exception to that, but I still think we're going to get a perfectly fair and just national championship at the end of the year. I really think any of those 4 teams in the top 4 rankings are going to win it, and whoever does is clearly going to deserve it, though.
Yeah, that's a great observation. And I remember when I first started loving college football, when I was 8 or 9 years old, 10 years old, Penn State had 2 straight undefeated seasons. They weren't in a conference, and they didn't win the national title. So in many respects, this debate has been going on for years, and it will continue. And we will continue on Gridiron Wrap right after this break. You are listening to WJR 760, the great voice of the Great Lakes.
Michigan Auto Law, the law firm that puts people over everything.
People call Michigan Auto Law when they need help, not just because we win more million-dollar auto settlements than any firm in Michigan, which we do. It's because we care and we have your back. From the first call to the final settlement, we treat you like a person, not a case. Because at Michigan Auto Law, it's simple. People over everything. Visit autolaw.com. That's autolaw.com.
The Amish Direct Furniture family would like to wish you and your family a very happy holiday. And guess what? This December, you could save even more on stylish furniture when you buy more at Amish Direct Furniture here in Sterling Heights. So come on over and let's make this holiday one for the books. Happy holidays from Amish Direct.
Straight from Chihuahua, just the way you want it. Amish Direct.
Visit us at AmishDirect.com.
Family Matters amplifies the loudest and the proudest political voices in the Black community today.
There is so much energy being put into try to make Black Americans speak up.
Because when you look at the values of the Black community, we're a community of faith, of promise.
Black voters, we just treat humans like humans.
The moment we become reliant upon ourselves, then we can actually vote for our interests. And once you see that truth, you don't go back because courage is contagious. That's why this moment matters.
Family Matters with CJ Pearson. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
The Detroit Urban Craft Fair celebrates 20 years of indie makers and original goods. 2 days of festive fun and high-quality handmade items. From clothing and jewelry to home decor and sweet treats from over 100 juried makers at prices that make holiday shopping affordable. You'll find your perfect gifts Saturday and Sunday, December 6th and 7th at the historic Masonic Temple Drill Hall in Detroit. Just $5 at the door. Support local talent and finish your holiday list. Get all the details at DetroitUrbanCraftFair.com. Start your day by hitting play on
5 Things First Thing with JR Morning's Chris Renwick, Lloyd Jackson, and Jamie Edmonds.
Get the day's top 5 stories in just 5 minutes, delivered right to your device. Subscribe to JR Morning's 5 Things First Thing wherever you get your podcasts.
The Spartans play here. 760 WJR. This is the great voice of the Great Lakes. 760 WJR. Detroit. A Cumulus media station.
Anti-ICE protests near New Orleans. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News. Protesters are following ICE agents around in the town of Kenner, warning people about agents being there, blowing whistles and honking horns. Fox's Garrett Tenney has more on the story.
Protests have been ramping up there over the past few days with these big crowds following agents wherever they go. Some of the demonstrators even followed Commander Greg Bavino and his agents into a gas station to confront them as they were buying drinks.
And we're not going to keep on stopping. We're going to keep on following you.
Despite those protests, local police say their community is already stronger and better off thanks to the work of federal agents this past week. As for New Orleans itself, police here do not have that same level of cooperation when it comes to immigration enforcement, but the city leaders here are still under fire from protesters for not doing more to fight back against Operation Catahoula Crunch.
Meantime, in the Chicago metro area, social media video posted shows protesters throwing snowballs amid a standoff with federal officers in the city of Elgin.
Watch out! Gas! Gas!
Demonstrators shouting as agents deployed tear gas. Some protesters were arrested. Just a few days after President Trump issued a preemptive pardon for an embattled congressman, Henry Cuellar, the president lashed out at him on social media. Cuellar announced he's running for re-election as a Democrat, which prompted the president to blast him for, in his words, continuing to work for the same radical left scum. But Cuellar told Fox News,
I'm a Democrat, probably one of the most, if not the most bipartisan Democrat. And as I told some of my Republican friends on the House floor, I vote better than some of the Republicans.
Cuellar and his wife, Imelda, were indicted last year on several counts, including bribery. He maintains his innocence. America's listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
Russia attacks on Ukraine continue as the U.S. wraps up another round of peace talks. Fox's Stephanie Bennett has more from London.
President Zelensky released some new numbers saying just this week alone, Russia has launched more than 1,600 attack drones, 1,200 guided aerial bombs, and almost 70 missiles against Ukraine. Now, nightly, these Russian attacks continue, leaving many residents cut off from access to heat, light, and running water. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, and Ukrainian negotiators said they made progress this week, meeting 3 times in Florida, but said any real progress toward an agreement ultimately will depend on Russia's readiness to show serious commitment to long-term peace.
And Ukrainian President Zelensky says he won't give up any territory. The country's constitution requires people to pass a referendum to change the country's borders. Greek authorities say at least 18 immigrants attempting to cross the Mediterranean Sea in an inflatable boat died when that boat capsized south of the island of Crete. A passing Turkish merchant vessel located the half-sunken boat. 2 survivors were rescued, and they are looking for more. Authorities have not determined how the boat got there, where it came from. In recent months, arrivals from Libya to Crete have surged. And in London, police arrest a man at Heathrow Airport today after a pepper spray attack on a crowd of people at a parking garage. And police say that 4 men carried out the attack, and it was caused hours of delays and minor injuries to at least 5 people. And they say that the robbers knew the victims, therefore the case is not terrorism related. And they are searching for the 3 other men involved. And I'm Carmen Roberts, and this is Fox News.
WJR traffic and weather first.
It's pretty quiet for the most part, but we do have a disabled vehicle that's kind of causing a little bit of delay if you're traveling on northbound 75 from downtown. It's right at 375. It's blocking the left shoulder and the left lane. There are emergency crews on the scene, of course, trying to get that cleared out of the way. So make sure you use caution if you are in that area. And some good news, the road construction on Michigan Avenue between Case and Willow, if you're traveling westbound, that will wrap up in about an hour. I'm Aaron B., WJR Traffic and Weather First.
Partly cloudy and cold here to finish out our weekend. We'll fall back to 15. Monday, we'll call it partly sunny, only going up to 27 for the high. We're in the upper teens Monday night. Chance for snow coming back on Tuesday. Look for the snow Tuesday night. For the Weather Channel, I'm Jeff Eno on 760 WJR, where Michigan comes to talk.
Brian Rank here from Sunday Night Football on Westwood One. Mike Golick and I will bring you the action from Kansas City this week when the Chiefs host the Texans. Kansas City sits outside the playoff picture at 6-6, knowing they need wins down the stretch. Now they face a league-leading defense in Houston, who is feeling confident after 4 straight wins. Join us for all the action on Sunday Night Football.
Remember to listen to Westwood One's coverage of the NFL all season long.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/play.
Call us or text us. The number's the same. 1-800-859-0957. 1-800-859-0WJR. Powered by Michigan Auto Law. Auto Accident Attorneys. Visit autolaw.com. That's autolaw.com. You're listening to Gridiron Wrap on WJR. Sponsored by Skinny Butcher Premium Proteins. Once again, with every football update you need, here are Bill Keenest and Alex Zilkowski.
Welcome back to Gridiron Wrap. And as we speak to you, the Packers are inside the 5-yard line. It's going to be third goal in a 21-21 tie game with the Bears. A classic NFC North battle, no doubt. It's you can see the breath in Lambeau, and what a game! What an absolute great game. So we'll keep you informed in that. We should have an outcome before we go off the air, unless the game goes into overtime, and then we'll have to figure that out, right? Mm-hmm. But what a great game, and I think I'm more impressed with the Bears in a way as Josh Jacobs just scored. And to put Green Bay up by 6 or 7 or 8, I guess. I don't think Matt LaFleur would go for 2 here, but you never know in today's NFL. And there's still plenty of time for the Bears. But like I said, I think I'm more impressed with the Bears, even if the Packers win, for them to go up in Lambeau and play as well as they've played. And it's still anybody's game with 3 minutes to go. Kudos to the Bears. A rundown of the other games. The only other game still in progress. It's really not in progress. It's probably on cruise control right now.
They're going through the motions.
Yeah,
finish out the game.
In fact, the Rams, Matthew isn't even playing in the fourth quarter. They're up 45-17 in LA or in Arizona. Over 500 yards of offense by the Rams today. Just a shellacking of the Cardinals. And again, just a rundown of the earlier games. Miami keeps rolling, defeats the Jets in New York. I almost said the Meadowlands. In New Jersey, technically, 34-10. Massive win by the Steelers at Baltimore, 27-22. Surprising, but to some not so. The Saints go to Tampa and beat the Bucs, the improving Saints under first-year head coach Kellen Moore, 24-20, in a game the Bucs really had to win. The Jaguars keep rolling, and it appears the Colts, what looked like at one point they had the best record in the NFL. They're being they're decimated. They're getting really banged up. They lost their quarterback, Alex. You said to Achilles, Daniel Jones.
Looks like a torn Achilles. So, yeah,
brutal. So the Jaguars keep rolling, 36-19, and then battle of the rookie quarterbacks. The Titans win in Cleveland, 31-29. The Vikings and J.J. McCarthy, arguably with probably his best game in the NFL, dominate the Commanders, 31-0. Seattle keeps rolling, 37-9 over Atlanta. The Broncos did hold on to beat the Raiders, 24-17. And in a classic matchup, one that we've seen numerous times over the last few years, Josh Allen and Joe Burrow went, head-to-head, toe-to-toe, but the Bills pulled it out 39-34. Just a classic matchup. But that probably is the end of Cincinnati's playoff hopes. Mm-hmm. But still, you just got to wonder, if Burrow had been there the whole year with where the Bengals might be. I mean, they certainly wouldn't be looking in or looking outside of the playoffs. They'd probably be in it.
Yeah, completely. And I mean, a small silver lining for the Bengals is they're currently slated to pick 10 in April right now, so they can maybe grab some really good pieces. They're gonna try to find an edge rusher to replace Trey Hendrickson because it seems like there's no chance those two sides stick together. But yeah, I mean the Bengals with Joe Burrow, we've seen it the past 5 years. They're one of the best teams in the NFL, but they just have to find a way to keep them healthy somehow.
Yeah,
they have to invest a lot in free agency. Maybe even trade. See if you can trade for someone good with that 10 pick. Just throwing things out there because that team just lives and dies with him, and they can't keep him on the field.
Well, there was a lot of eyebrows raised in Cincinnati when they bypassed Penei Sewell and took Jamar Chase. Now, Chase has been arguably the best receiver, certainly in the American Football Conference since then. So I don't think they have any regrets about taking Jamar Chase, who played collegiately with Joe Burrow at LSU. But they're going to have to shore up that O-line. And if I were them, I would just look at the blueprint in many respects of what the Chicago Bears did this offseason, because their offensive line went from one of the worst to, I don't know where you would rank it, but it certainly has improved dramatically. And look at their record. They're right in the hunt. They're down by 7 with 3 minutes to go in Lambeau. And like I said, a classic NFC North division, whereas Chris Berman used to say back in the day, Norris division matchup with an ode to hockey. The Bears just completed about a 30-yard pass inside Packer territory already. So like I said, we'll keep you appraised of that. Before I get some thoughts from Alex on early signing day and some of the local high school standouts, I want to go over some Division II and D3 scores from this weekend. Primarily, our Ferris State Bulldogs, after a closer game than expected. I mean, it was actually a one-possession game. It was 24-21 in the third quarter, but Ferris State pulls away from Minnesota State and wins 52-29. And they keep rolling. Number one ranked team in the country in D2, 14-0 this year. And a potential matchup could be Kutztown from my home state of Pennsylvania. And Kutztown has, they've had a great football tradition over the years. Andre Reed, a Pro Football Hall of Famer. John Mobley, a first-round draft pick of Denver, was a Pro Bowler. And you talk about, not that scores mean anything, but, Ferris wins 52-29. Kutztown wins 51-29 over Frostburg State. And one of the biggest games in D3 occurred yesterday. And I don't want to call it an upset because it would be doing a disservice to John Carroll University. But John Carroll goes to Mount Union, the perennial D3 powerhouse, and wins in overtime 10-7. What an amazing game that had to be.
Yeah.
And so, and John Carroll, like I mentioned about Kutztown, John Carroll has an amazing football heritage, not the least of which is Don Shula. Went to John Carroll. So when you think about it, this shouldn't surprise any of the John Carroll alums. Huge game for John Carroll, and I would think they've got to be one of the favorites now that would advance to the D3 finals. And one other note, that has a local connection. Johns Hopkins, a great program from Baltimore, also won yesterday, beating Salisbury University. Johns Hopkins won 45-13. And Jeff Seidel, the great columnist from the Free Press, his son played at Johns Hopkins and was a phenomenal player. Started, I think, all 4 years there. Well, he may be getting into our business, Alex, because he did the color commentary for the TV broadcast yesterday.
Oh, wow.
So hopefully hopefully Nick enjoyed himself, and I know he enjoyed the outcome of that game. So we're on to another break right now, and we will be back and obviously update the Packer-Bear game when we return on Gridiron Wrap on WJR, the great voice of the Great Lakes.
The Amish Direct Furniture family would like to wish you and your family a very happy holiday. And guess what? This December, you could save even more on stylish furniture when you buy more at Amish Direct Furniture here in Sterling Heights. So come on over and let's make this holiday one for the books. Happy holidays from Amish Direct.
Straight from Tijuana, just the way you want it. Amish Direct.
Visit us at AmishDirect.com.
Hi, it's Paul W. While we're shopping for those perfect holiday presents, the best gift of all, the one we all truly want, is our health. When we need drugs or shots for pain to get by every day, it's hard to be in the holiday spirit. So give yourself or someone you love the gift of health from Dr. Saul Kogan at the Nerve and Disc Institute. People with neuropathy, sciatica, spinal stenosis, or bulging, herniated, and degenerative discs can celebrate avoiding spine surgery with his intradisc neutrosis treatment. And his Knee Restore RX treatment is a gift to patients facing knee surgery. They're all natural, non-invasive, and non-surgical solutions with no shots, pills, or downtime. Plus, Dr. Kogan is really in the holiday spirit because the first 10 new patients who call and start treatment in December in Farmington, Clinton Township, and Grand Blanc will get 60% off their treatment plan. The Nerve and Disc Institute. Call now, 586-416-DISC, 586-416-3472.
Hi, I'm Pastor Darren White, CEO of Grace Centers of Hope. Right now, there are too many people suffering on the streets of Metro Detroit with homelessness and addiction. At Grace Centers of Hope, there is a way out. Our long-term residential programs provide everything a person needs to live a life of independence and sustainability. And we do it all without a dime from the government, but rely on God, community, and the generosity of people like you. To learn how you can help someone suffering with homelessness and addiction this Christmas, please go to gracecentersofhope.org.
Jones, it's the holidays.
The cheeriest time of the year.
I'm so depressed.
Don't worry, boss. We joined Trade First.
Trade First?
TradeFirst.com, boss. We're part of a network of
over 5,000 member businesses who use trade to perk their people and buy gifts for their clients.
Smart businesses.
And they're keeping their businesses healthy by planning next year's advertising on trade, buying goods and services on trade, conserving cash flow with trade. We joined TradeFirst.com.
Join Trade First and grow your company. Reward employees and beat the internet. Find out more at TradeFirst.com.
Start your day by hitting play on
5 Things First Thing with JR Morning's Chris Renwick, Lloyd Jackson, and Jamie Edmonds.
Get the day's top 5 stories in just 5 minutes, delivered right to your device. Subscribe to JR Morning's 5 Things First Thing wherever you get your podcasts.
Coming up Monday on JR Morning, we'll talk with Tom Izzo after that huge top 10 matchup with the Blue Devils in East Lansing on Saturday. And we'll talk with Mitch Albom to preview his Say Detroit Radiothon Thursday to benefit the children and families of Detroit. Stream us on the free WJR app, and we'll talk to you Monday morning at 6 a.m.
You're listening to Gridiron Wrap on WJR, sponsored by Skinny Butcher Premium Proteins. Once again, with every football update you need, here are Bill Keenest and Alex Zilkowski.
Welcome back to our final segment of Gridiron Wrap. And one update, 27 seconds left in Green Bay. The Bears are 4th and 1 inside the red zone, and 28-21 Green Bay leads. And you talk about their at the 14-yard line, and I think they just took another timeout, or Green Bay did. So we'll update you on that. Before we get some thoughts from Alex on some of the recruiting locally, I want to mention 2 events that occurred this weekend. Friday night, the now in its 15th year, which is remarkable, Killer Christmas, a charity event honoring longtime Detroit Lions beat writer Tom Kowalski, Killer Kowalski, who sadly passed away in 2011. And Tom was one of those people that did everything he could to help the less fortunate in our community. I remember vividly all the times he would say, "Billy, need some help, need a few items," but it was all for the kids primarily. And it was a great turnout, as it usually is. A lot of great charities like Team Joseph, among others, benefited from it. and Green Bay just intercepted in the end zone. So the Packers are going to win this game on 4th and 1. Wow. But anyways, a lot of local celebrities were at that game, a lot of JR people, and it was just a wonderful event. Raised a ton of money for local charities, helping those who need help at a very special time of the year. And then earlier today, Alex, we had a special surprise birthday party for one of the most influential members of the Detroit media, certainly in my lifetime and in many Lions fans' lifetime, a surprise 80th birthday for Mr. Mike O'Hara. And it was wonderful. And someone you know who speaks very highly of you, Tom Mazaway, was there. Tom's a very good friend of Mike's and was helpful in the planning along with Donna, Mike's girlfriend. But it was a great event. And Lomas Brown shows up. What kind of guy? Lomas Brown on a Sunday afternoon, he shows up to see a colleague, somebody that covered him with the Lions. Lomas is a prince of a person. He's already a Hall of Famer in every way, but just special to have him there. Kurt Sylvester, who covered the Lions when Mike was a beat writer for the Detroit Free Press, also came. It was just wonderful. Matt Barnhart, former Lions PR guy, was there. So just a joyous luncheon at Maggiano's restaurant in Troy. It was great to see everybody. But yeah, Tom Mazaway thinks the world of you, Alex.
Love
really,
Maz.
Yeah, he's a classic guy. Does a lot of stuff for people behind the scenes, and so kudos to Donna, to Maz, to everybody, and obviously to Mike O'Hara for making such an impact into the Detroit media community, and certainly millions of Lions fans over the years read Mike's stories. So with still a few minutes to go, we've had some high school news lately with some early signings, and you're usually all over that Alex. So what you got?
Oh yeah, sign day is one of my favorite day of the year. It's a day I'm chronically online, monitoring all the news and stuff, because it's one of the best days of the year. You get to see all the college football drama unfold, see who's going to be where. And I mean, if I were to ask you heading into signing day, what school you would think would ultimately have probably the best class of recruits purely out of the state of Michigan, you would think it would ultimately be either Michigan or Michigan State or Notre Dame or Ohio State. But I actually think it's Iowa this year. Of all people. They've done a really good job. They have 3 recruits in the top 20 in Michigan, but I think they were all really underrated. The highest rated of which is Marcelo Vitti, who had a great season at Divine Child on offense there, running the ball, and he'll probably project to either like running back or safety at Iowa. And then they also did a great job pulling Ronnie Hill, who's, I think, one of the most underrated safety prospects in the country, out of Stevenson and Sterling Heights. And if you remember, Iowa's had some success developing recruits at the DB position out of the state of Michigan, specifically Desmond King. He went on to win the Thorpe Award at Iowa. So another pull there. And then they were able to flip a recruit from one of their Big Ten rivals in Wisconsin, where they got Jack Yonda who's one of the key players for Catholic Central's state championship run. But the interesting thing there is Wisconsin wanted him to actually play tight end, but then Iowa came in and kind of at the last minute, they really liked what they saw in film from him at defensive end. So it looks like he's going to be going to Iowa City to play there. And then just some of the other interesting things you see is, the state of Michigan doesn't usually send a lot of recruits to SEC ultimately, but this year we had 4. And I mean, the top rated recruit according to 24/7 in Michigan was Lincoln Keys out of Saline, who will be playing tight end at Georgia. And interesting enough, there from the outside, seemed like him and Michigan may have never really had as much interest in each other, which is interesting. But then there's also, again, 3 more. Port Huron has a tight end going to Kentucky. Khalif Canty, who is a great offensive lineman at Cass Tech in their run as state runner-up this year, he's going to be heading to Missouri. And then Charlie Gillick from Portage Central, he was actually committed to Minnesota, but then around the last minute, the Texas Longhorns swooped in and offered him as well. So again, a lot of really interesting things for the local side, the Spartans are going to be battling because their top-rated recruit, Samson Gash, the great receiver at Catholic Central, he's pushing off his signing till February. So it'll be interesting to see if any teams go there. Ask around. Michigan could be a contender because they only took 3 wide receivers, and interesting enough, Michigan only has 1 in-state commit this year in Tommy Carr, obviously grandson of Lloyd and brother of CJ, who he had a great season. He set the single game record for passing touchdowns in a game. And I think just a really good pickup for Michigan to get him as well. I mean, you can never have too much talent in the quarterback room at any level of the sport. So
no question.
Yeah, really good job. And I think this is going to be a really good class of seniors coming out of the state of Michigan in the college game. I think we're going to look back in a few years and see a lot of difference makers at some big time programs.
Yeah, that's great information. And I think, with the success of Fair State on the D2 level, the majority of its roster are Michigan high school kids. University of Michigan won the national title a couple years ago, same. So maybe the SEC schools are realizing what kind of football players we make up here in Michigan. And it'll be interesting to see where Sam Gash's son goes. Sam went to Penn State, and I think they made a great hire. I really do. In Matt Campbell for this late in the game, for them to get a coach of that quality is really impressive. And I think, a week or so ago, it was gloom and doom, like, all the coaches are turning them down, what have you. And for them to get a coach of that caliber. And I think I mentioned to you before the Lions hired Dan Campbell, Matt Campbell, there was some talk about him because he had done great things everywhere he was. So it'll be interesting to see if Matt makes a push for Sam's son. But as you all hear the music, it flew by again, Alex. As it always does. But good game tonight on Sunday Night Football, and WJR will have the coverage. And until next Sunday, we wish everybody a great week, a great football week. And this is Bill and Alex signing off for our producer extraordinaire, Daniel Cahalan, DC, bringing it to everybody on WJR, the great voice of the Great Lakes.
The Spartans play here, 760.